Look at these. Yes. For the
We're good? Okay. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Second day. And I hope everybody had a good night last night with all the food. I certainly spent the time just brushing up the presentation, but I don't really remember CALI conferences being or having this much food, which I completely appreciate this year, but certainly has been a challenge not to, or sort of to pass on some food. But anyway, we're going to get this going, and I'm hearing some echo, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit. You can hear me okay, right? Yeah, from over there? Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for coming. Name is Ricardo Mardales, and I'm here from the University of Connecticut School of Law. I'm the Assistant Director for Information Services at the law school. And the topic today is challenges of exam software. I think we all do exam software at our law schools, but the idea this year was to bring some ideas from the IT perspective. So all the things, all the pain and suffering that we all go through. So we can share some experiences and maybe things that we can do better or different, and sort of get us all on the same room to talk about exam software. I don't see our fellow vendors in today. They grabbed me yesterday. Oh, well, that's all right. And certainly you'll be able to pick up on some of the things that we all go through as well. So with that, let me get going here. So a little bit about the law school. We are in Hartford, Connecticut, and our population is about 700 students. We have about 70 full-time faculty, although there's always the recruiting going on. We have both day and evening programs, and 2 LLM programs, sort of those post-JD programs. And forgot to mention it here, but we also have a distance learning program, which for now we're only doing take-home exams for them. Our group is 5 members, so there's 5 IT staff. And we're located in 5 buildings. This is one of them. It's a beautiful middle of Hartford, Connecticut. And the university, the main campus, is 30 miles away from us. So we are the IT department for the law school. We do get some services from the main campus, like the big enterprise systems, PeopleSoft, WebCT, and those. But for the most part, we are by ourselves at the law school, trying to support all sorts of different technologies, exam software being one of them. I'm sure you do all sorts of things at your schools as well. So that's about the main university, and I had to say this because we were very proud this past year. I'm sure that a few of them followed the basketball, but we made it, and we were on a run. I think we went from being 7-8 to basically winning every game up until the championship. So that was quite an accomplishment. And I had to say it because we were all in our toes. It's like, is this really going to happen? Could it be possible that we lost the first 7 games and now we're going to win the championship? So yeah, it did happen. All right, so again, the topic. We have exams in every law school. Many of the features of the different vendors are pretty similar, the same. In many cases, but some of our schools, depending on the programs that we have, we may need to tailor it or customize it a little bit to our needs. I was talking to other peers yesterday, and there are different options for take-home exams and as well as in-class exams. The idea, like I said, of this session is sort of make it open to everybody to talk about what are the things that are most challenging at our law schools and share most of our experiences. And one little thing that I do want to mention is that if there are any specific details that you want to, chat about, we can probably do it offline. I want to keep this presentation sort of vendor-free. If you have any specific questions, we have our nice fellows in the second floor, right? So feel free to get a sticker, stop by their booths, and ask specific details. With that said, at UConn Law, we've been through 3 vendors. So we've had experiences with all three of them. We were in the beginning with ExamSoft, doing a bit of with soft tests and all of that stuff. Then we moved to Secure Exam, and then most recently our experience has been with Exam4. So we have a bit of experience with a little bit of with all three of them. I know that I'm missing one, maybe EBB, Electronic Blue Book. Is anybody using Electronic Blue Book? Okay, all right. And am I missing one or something? I think that's pretty much we cover them all, maybe, right? At least that are specific to law schools, anyway. Okay, so the goal. If you remember, a few years ago, we had this motto of supporting the unsupported. That's pretty much how I feel when exam season comes. It's like I've always done hands-on support, even though I'm now more of on a managerial role, but I just miss so much the technical side. I mean, trying to help the students hands-on, getting on their computers, and things like that. And now I see that this is a time, if you think about it, it's probably the most stressful time, obviously, for students, but also for us, because there is no other time. Well, the only other time that I was thinking about is maybe if you have some sort of prominent speaker come in and talk at your law school, and everybody's stressed out. But this is the time. And it's repetitive. Every semester, we go through the same time. You get everybody involved, all the students, faculty, the registrar's office. Well, maybe not the administrative offices. They may not be as interested in exams. But it's the time, and I'm sorry to put it out there, but if you have one failure, you probably know this, you lose an exam, it's the end of it. So that semester didn't go well, not only for that student, but that sort of passes the word around. So we're going to go through some of the items on how to prepare for exam season. And like I said, the process, I sort of broke it down in 4 pieces. So plan, prepare, communicate, very important, and of course, execute and support. So planning. This is more or less if you're looking into other exam software applications, if you're thinking about changing, or if you haven't had anything in place and you're thinking about incorporating some new software and you're talking to the vendors. So basically, the way we approach this is we come up with a list of the features that we need from an exam software. And I tried to come up with as many items as I could. Let me go through them briefly. Basically, exam modes. Is that software going to support open book exams, closed book exams? Does that application, is it going to have an option for take-home exams, right? Formatting tools. Are students going to be able to do the basic bold, underlines, italics? Editing tools. Is it going to be able to cut, copy, and paste? Does it have a strong spell check? And believe me, I mean, whenever we tested, we went through all of these items. What are the backup procedures? Does it back up to a file or to some other medium? What is the recovery process like? And these are many of the things that we need to talk to our vendors and to sort of ask, how easy is it for the technology staff or even for the users? What are the security features? Does it support anonymous grading? Does it require administrator access to run? What is the user management? I mean, some options out there also requires students to be preloaded to some sort of matrix, and is that going to become a user management issue when you have to distribute IDs? What is the vendor support like? What are their hours? What kinds of OSs do they support? How friendly is their interface? Do they provide timers and alarms in case you have to push a timed exam? How's the printing, reporting tools? What are their submission options? Do they host the exam files, or are you going to have to co-host them yourself? And, of course, licensing and the pricing, right? That's what may make your dean fall off their chair or not. And lab and multi-user computers. So if you have an environment where you set up computers, laptops, or a computer lab for your students, it's that application going to be able to support that. Okay, so with that said, how do you prepare for exam season? So, and this is more or less how we do it at UConn Law, and this is where I may ask for some input as well. Maybe we can improve a few things, and we can all learn from this. So this process sort of begins middle of the semester. For us, we get in touch with our vendor, and we ask them for copies of the software that is going to be used on that particular semester. We send them our exam list, so they build all of our settings, and then we test it. So if you remember, there was a year where, I'm trying to think which year was this, but basically we had different OSs, different Windows OSs. So it was Windows XP, Windows Vista, and we began to see Windows 7. So I remember I had my laptop, and I ended up triple booting into, and I also was doing some virtual machining, although that's not supporting on some exam software applications. But I was basically was able to triple boot to XP, Vista, and 7, because you want to test your software. You want to test the submissions. You want to make sure that it's going to run fine. And of course, as in the IT side, we always are proud of our computers and that they are clean and everything. But sometimes you want to, install certain things that that the students have. There are some things from LexisNexis and from LexisNexis and from Westlaw. Some tools like that could pretty well create issues. So we sort of had these images that we used to test the computers, and also on a Mac. We had tested on 10.4, 10.5, and 10.6. So we do a test to make sure that everything is going to be okay. On the side, we also prepare some school laptops. Sometimes we have reefer computers that are laying around, and just in case students have problems, they're certainly available to them. And then we have a process where students sign up to take exams on their computers. If they don't sign up, we are just going to put them on a writing room. At the same time that they sign up, they install the software, and they sort of what we call do a validation process, which is nothing but taking a practice exam. This sign-up process actually helps our registrar's office when they have to do the room assignments and allocations, and also sort of identifies issues early on. So we do this at in the spring, sort of after spring break, and in the fall, late October. Anybody does anything different, or are we pretty much on the same? Are we on the same page as far as taking a practice exam? Who doesn't have a practice exam? Yes?
No, we test everything in practice exams, but we don't have students sign up.
Okay. So you...
They're going to use the computer or handwriting.
Okay. The sign-up process also helps with students with impairments. Like we have to accommodate students with visual impairments, give them some extra time. Those in the LLM program, we have a good number of international students, and due to language constraints, they also are allowed some extra time. So they are accommodated on different times. That's why we do it. And it's a way to push, like I said, students to download the program and try it early on as well. So we do it all online. The sign-up process is online. Students just go in, access their net ID, access a form online with their net ID. This form captures their net ID, which is tied, and we know their first name, last name, and they have to just check off. It's very simple. Unfortunately, that form was off since we're off for the summer, but it's a very simple form. They just check the exams that they are going to be taking on their computers, and the next step is they get to this window in which we give them instructions to prepare their computers, to go in and do the updates that they need, a few of the cleanup and those kinds of things. And here's where when we tell them go download the program and go sort of validate it. Like I said, a fancy term for just taking a practice exam, but a way to push them to get the software loaded. So what if they don't take a practice exam? Well, you make them an offer that they can refuse. All right. I'm not going to say you punish them because they are already stressed enough, but there are sorts of things that you do to sort of make them do it. So you can tell them that you're going to be writing. If they don't sign up, there may be some limited support if they don't do this, if they wait to the very last minute. And some sort of sitting priority. Students are, I was a student, all of us were students at some point, but we all have our quirks as far as sometimes going to an exam. The biggest quirk that I've seen one time is a student bringing a 24-inch screen into the exam room and attaching it to their laptop. So sometimes there's a way to tell them, hey, you're not going to get into the room until this time if you don't comply, basically. So we want students to take a practice exam. And anybody else doing any other things to make sure?
Hi. Yes, at the Maryland School of Law, we actually lead a practice sessions. So especially in the fall semester, possibly 10 of them will be scheduled, staggered, lunchtime, late afternoon, at least 2 or 3 for evening students. And I always invite IT staff, so I usually have at least 2 IT staff on hand, and I try to keep the presentation under 45 minutes so that, it doesn't take up too much of the students' time. And again, we have all the information on the web page. We suggest that they download it and give it a try beforehand, but if not, sometimes they just walk into the classroom, they download it there. If they have a problem, and we only present the closed mode, since it's the most difficult to pass the security exam on if their laptops aren't in the best shape. So our IT staff will be there to assist them with any problems they might have, and I just keep plowing through. And it's a great success. I usually see at least 75% of the 1Ls each fall come to the practice session.
And that's pretty much what happens. I mean, once you're set with the 1Ls, you can sort of forget about them for the next 3 years. No, well, not really, but now they know, they have the experience of the first year. So typically 1Ls are certainly the most challenging. Thank you. Okay. Okay, communication. So many people involved here. We have students, our registrar's office, we have our vendors. We want to make sure we keep a good relationship with them, our staff, and proctors. What we do at Yukon Law is we hire proctors, sort of seasonal employees, just to help us during exam season. They get a stipend at the end of the semester, but they are not full-time employees. So that's how we sort of take care of that. That is a challenge in itself, because sometimes when we change a procedure or if we change software, we have to retrain them. And of course, from semester to semester, they may forget a few things. But once you have a sort of a good solid pool, they are certainly very, very helpful. Software updates and issues. Sometimes you may come across a piece of software, an application that came across an issue and they released a patch. So how do you distribute that? How do you push that out to your users? Ways to communicate, and this is actually an open question for everybody. We've tried a little bit of everything, and in hopes that our students will pay attention to us, and many of them do, luckily. Email, text, we put signs on the web, digital signs as well. Anybody else trying any other means of communications that, does anybody keep mailboxes in their law schools for students? Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, fair enough. So,
Put the CALI in there, and that's about it.
I think one time we may have tried their mailboxes for some other issue, but we also have mailboxes as well. And documents. I know that us in the technical field, at least myself, it does take me quite a bit of time to come up with instructions, because you want to do them right. You want to follow them, instructions with the screenshots, and sort of be on top of things as far as creating recovery procedures and those instances when it all fails. What do? You want to set guidelines for your proctors so that every student, in case something fails, has the same process in place. And of course, we put a session closer to the exam week. We put a session for proctors, so we sort of give them a refresher on the things that need to be done. We also have in the IT department about 10 student workers on average, and we train our student workers because they are the ones who staff our evening hours. So we train them. Well, they are students themselves, so they have to go through this anyway if they are taking exams. But they are a very good resource. And some other staff, like the library staff. So, for example, the laptops that we have for students, in case there are troubles, they are circulated at the library. So sometimes library staff also get those questions. So we sort of try to keep a bunch of people informed and trained for that matter. And the final one, support. So comes exam time, exam stress is at its highest. We have the usual tech anxiety and skill levels of all sorts. I had a student one time, it's like, do you support Fedora? No, unfortunately, the exam software will not run on that release of Linux. Well, it doesn't run on Linux. And we remember this girl, it's just stuck in my head, is, so how do I insert the CD? She had a casebook that she wanted to, she needed that those exercises in preparation for an exam. So you know all of this. All the different all the different students and the levels that we have. But one of the things that we are very proud of is that we are it at our law schools. We're sort of the Obi-Wans. And if you remember this one, oh no, that's what I figured. Of course, when you do your test run, it all runs fine. Okay, let's try it again. I am wired. Okay, well, thank you. All right, let's get back to this. Well, the idea is that it plays.
How long have you had these? About 3 or 4 seasons?
They're for sale if you want them.
Let me see your identification.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Move along.
Go on. Go on.
All right, well, the idea was to play the video there. What I'm trying to get at that is that our students need quite a bit of support, depending on their level of expertise and their technical skills. I'm not saying that you're going to tell them exactly how things do, but some sort of positive reinforcement comes a long way. This is it for them. I mean, the final exam is quite at high stakes, and it's sort of their own career as well. So positive reinforcement, again, does help quite a bit. So just tell them, yeah, you're going to be fine. It's going to be okay. So before we get into the issues, sort of IT 101 is there's always a workaround. There are many different options to do or to try to solve a problem. So let's keep that in mind. There's always a workaround. So hardware issues, hard drives that crash, power supplies, network cards. And as in IT, we do keep our toolbox of things, maybe a boot CD or one of those IDE, SATA hard drive where you can take it out of those, extract it off the computer, and at least give them their guides or their study plans. Unfortunately, we don't have a mandatory laptop program at our law school, so we pretty much deal with all sorts of brands, models, software, you name it. And who here does have a mandatory program for? Nobody? Oh, okay.
We have a mandatory program. You have to have a laptop, but they can purchase any one they want.
Okay.
The minimum requirements.
I guess let me rephrase that. Who
Provides laptops.
provides full support for students' laptops to the extent of that you will replace the hard drives? Like, for example, hardware issues, we try to help them. We'll help them sometimes extract their files. But then if they actually need to replace a power supply, they're going to have to go to a vendor. I mean, we do have student tech services at the main campus, so they have to take a trip or send their computer or go to some sort of third-party vendor. I guess what I'm trying to ask is anybody providing hands-on hardware support at their law schools for your students? Oh, okay. Like you would go in and replace parts?
Well, there's a university program,
Okay.
and then the students can buy into it, and if they buy into it, that vendor will send out a tech to the school
Okay.
for that. But we don't, again, we just have minimum requirements, so we've seen the growth of Macs every incoming
Sure.
class is more and more Macs. And our IT department will help as much as they can, and they've become more proficient, but they don't actually do the hardware work themselves.
Okay. Thank you. So we have the hardware issues, we have some software issues. And again, it's all a matter of testing early on. Operating system compatibility and sometimes those Windows updates that just make you itch. Some exam software updates. As you know, exam software will sort of log your computer, so it goes through trying to close Windows services, and sometimes it may find a service that not be able to close. Firewalls, third party, that Kaspersky firewall, Symantec, McAfee, you name it, sometimes had to be disabled. Spyware and viruses. And the stories are endless here, but our students, and along with the sharing software, sometimes they just tend to open their laptops wide on. I mean, I don't know if you've come across a student without even without even an antivirus program. It's like you've been running this computer here for a while, and you don't even have antivirus. And then language support for our international students. So sometimes we have to help them, and they don't have the Windows CD, and we have to help them sort of turn their laptops into an English language laptop. Any other software issues that our law schools are pretty much, I think, what covers the basis. Network issues. Okay, so at UConn Law, we have a network registration process. The students need to enter the net IDs to access the network. I see here at Marquette that we also do the same thing for wireless. However, for the wired network, it seems like it's open. Not at UConn Law, so sometimes students, and there are different levels of configuration. Sometimes students just access what we call the public VLAN, not much needed to get in there. But exam submissions, for example, won't work over that public VLAN. It's just restricted to port 80. So it'll be a matter of testing that access to wired and wireless networks, and then looking into firewalls and routers, making sure, talking to your vendor to see what kind of protocols they support, and also talking to your networking people to make sure that submissions are going to be okay. All right, so at exam time, this is what we do. We stop by some rooms. If I'm available, I'll stop by. And we also have some student workers and some other IT staff. And we sort of stick around for a few minutes until the software is fully loaded. And then we just check with the proctor, and we say, we'll see you later. We have, like I said, some school laptops that are ready and available. And evening coverage is provided by student workers, as well as some of us who are on call. So we share our cell phones with the registrar's office, and obviously at the help desk, which is staffed with our student workers. And we also assist with the closing of the exam, right? That submission mechanism, so that it sends the exam over the network or by email. Oh, so at the law school we do anonymous grading. This is, I think, a pretty well standard, right? The exams IDs, or the exam IDs, we change them for every exam, changes for every student. So pretty much that same student will not use the same ID for every exam that they take. And we distribute this, well, the registrar's office pretty much takes care of this through just a mail merge, but it goes along with their attendance cards. So they get their attendance cards, they have to sign it, and that's where they get their exam IDs as well. I hear from other law schools that they use the exact same ID throughout all the exams that they take. Is anybody doing that practice? Per semester, so for one semester, that student. The reason I believe, and my registrar can probably lower one, she's not here right now, is I believe the idea is that when you launch the software, that exam ID is also tied to a security code that also changes. So from exam to exam, there's never the same one used at all times. So. And take-home exams. So we do take-home exams using a web-based solution. Basically, the exams are submitted. Well, first of all, students go to this website to download the questions. They are given an ID from the registrar's office. They download the questions. That download gets timestamped. And 48 hours later, they go back to the website and they upload their answers. We don't use a software-based, so like option, because then that will lock their computers for that length of time. In case we do have students who take take-home exams while also maybe going to an in-class exam. So if you think about it, if they are going to be sitting at that in-class exam, their computers may not be accessible if they're also taking a take-home exams using the software at the same time. That's what I was trying to get at. So we sort of moved away from that, and we're only using a web solution for it. So students go, retrieve their questions, download them, plug in their answers, go back up. Yes, sir. Yes, so that's what I'm saying. Right. So what I'm trying to get at is if we want to incorporate a closed take-home exam, and if they also have an in-class exam, then it's like it's already closed. So you're going to be running the software a second time. It's not going to be possible. No, I mean, it should be open book. No, what I'm saying is that we're not using the same software for take-home exams. It's just we use it in Word. I mean, we let the students type it in whatever they want.
Well, our university, they go to a lot of trouble not to assign 2 exams. You know, you never have 2 exams on the same day. You'll have one exam on one topic, and you have to have at least 24 hours in between your next exam.
Those are for in-class exams, correct? Yeah. For take-home exams, I think our law school, I'm pretty sure we give them the freedom of, whenever, for take-home exams only. In-class exams are set on a schedule, so there are no other options there. I mean, they can ask for a deviation later. But what I find interesting is that they do take-home exams, let's say, on a Monday, and then they have an in-class exam on Tuesday, but that take-home exam is not due until Wednesday. Yep. That's what I meant. So back on the take-home exams, be a matter of checking with your vendors the type of answer files that are supported. If metadata is scrapped out of those files, so that when you send it to your professors, some professors prefer to get them in electronic format as opposed to in print, so that they won't be able to see where that document is coming from. And the workaround here would be to use your course management system as a workaround. Twen, right? Twen, we're familiar with it. WebCT, Blackboard, any of those CMSs that may be able to push out these files on a timestamp basis. And then post-exam support, printing. It'll be a matter of checking with your registrar's office what are the requirements for printing with your vendor as far as the data loss and the file corruption mechanisms. Security, if you're hosting the retrieval of these files, your retrieving computer, make sure that it's secure. Archival, we've also, not only for those files for the exams, but we also have been putting exams on the website, like past exams, past questions. That has helped our students quite a bit, so we keep an exams archive. And again, keeping an eye on anonymous grading, making sure that when professors receive the printouts of this, they don't get the students' names. Okay. All right, so the future. What do we see? And here's where I'm going to ask everybody else to jump in with suggestions or changes that we need to see on exam software. So a few things that come to mind are exams on tablets or possibly mobile devices. I mean, right now it seems like it's way too small, but our students tend to always surprise us with their questions. So accessibility options for students with impairment, right? Visual impairment in particular. Distance learning exams, I know that there is a particular vendor that may have a solution. How do you provide distance learning exams? Some sort of integration with the student management system. If you have PeopleSoft, maybe there is a way to distribute exams IDs through PeopleSoft and at the same time do some of that grading. And maybe there a way to also distribute files during closed exams, meaning maybe when this student launches the exam session, some of them sometimes are allowed to bring their notes or things like that, but only, or one book kind of thing. So maybe there's a way to just embed that into the software so that they get that one file. Yes?
Yeah, on that last one, this is a common issue for us because faculty want students to have access to, say, section of U.S. code.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the idea of printing out that code is 100 pages long, and every student then arrives then with 100 pages of paper. They print it out from Westfall, and it's just kind of a waste of paper. It would be nice to have that either file or maybe a single HTML, single
exactly.
Link that they could go to, that they can stay within. Because this is pretty much a common thing we've gotten to. Some faculty have gone as far as making an open exam when they don't want to because they want that available.
Exactly. Yep.
And then the other ones, the more common thing is I walk them through the exam and every student there has got a 100, 200 page stack of paper printout.
Exactly, yeah. Which is a good source of revenue, but if you're charging for printing.
But it's just, yeah, we do. But it seems like a waste of paper and time.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they're really likely going to be looking at 10 pages of that, they just don't know what 10 pages before the exam starts.
Right, yep.
About that. What prevents you guys from doing that? And specifically what I'm interested in is how does your process work before the exam with the faculty member? And how does that impede your ability to adapt?
Well, basically, it's more than just the paper, but what prevents us is just the size of the stuff and the time that it takes for us to go through and figure it out. Most faculty won't even tell us up to a day, a few days before the exam. I want to have access to this, so they'll be letting the students know, but not us. And we run into a situation where the other nice part about it is a lot of these HTML documents online are linked. So if you're on section 101A and there's a reference to section 103B, you can click on that and it goes there. So a lot of our faculty really want that level of access, and those people have just gone to the open exam, even though what they really want is a closed exam that lets them to go on that one page or that one HTML document. And the most common one, as I say, is US code. Where I run into this a lot with all the IT people, and the tax people. They're both very code-intensive subjects, and the code is really long. They do not want to restrict. But the other thing some of them do is they will embed it, but they'll only embed the 10 pages they actually need. The part that they really need. And that a lot of our faculty don't want to do that. They don't want to help them out. They want them to have to know how to find the codes they're looking for within this, which can be a very large section of the code.
If I sort of tack on that, I think one of the issues you're running into there is such a variety of ways of presenting material. It starts with more open into the textbook conversation. How do you present the material to begin with? And of course, if that's an issue for textbook, it's an issue for an exam as well. And then that puts the software vendors also in a harder position, which is I can build that functionality. I'd rather do it in a simple way. If I got to do it in a complex way, it's a lot harder. And I just give you plain text, that'd be easier.
I understand.
If you want it linked to it.
Well, I'm not saying the world is going to be easy, and I'm not saying that this is something that has to be, I'm just saying it's an area where our faculty is faced with a competence. And it's a competence that they would prefer not to be faced with.
Yeah, it's hard for us, so it's pushing them.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean that it's, people are saying, oh, well, we can't do exam software with access. It just means that it's more and more it's becoming the case where a lot of our faculty are doing a significant portion of what they teach in class in an online situation where they're not having to have everything in books and papers and things like that. And so what ends up happening is that one time things get printed out before the exam. And the students' ability to do this all semester long in the classroom setting, where we're integrated on the notebooks, it's on the screen, everything they're doing is electronic. And then they walk into the exam session and they've got this stack of papers open. And their preference is to not have that. Some of our faculty, though, are so security-minded that they're, the idea of having, some of their thoughts about how to be, they're very concerned that it's going to get too much or too little. So I find a big variance of what individual faculty want.
There's a wide range of needs. There's a wide range of needs and preferences.
Let me just ask you this. Do you think a faculty member, and I'm not suggesting this, would be willing to do with a little less security to be able to bring in those other things in a flexible way?
Well, some do, some don't. Yeah, some of our faculty come to the center thinking we're exam open. They just, go ahead, window out, do whatever you want to do. And then they usually have some sort of additional instruction about what's allowed and what's not allowed, and then really rely on honor code for students to follow. So, of course, they're willing to go all the way to no security at all. Then I have other faculty who we go ballistic if they just knew what already their students could do if they really would be triggered. So it's Boston AC, the same day as I'm
Okay, so yeah, so
there's no one answer to that question. You know, for some faculty, yes. For other faculty, no. For other faculty, they don't care at all. And it's, you know, there's no, and I think this was your point. There is no one faculty member's desire when it comes to exams and exam software. It's a really broad spectrum. And I noticed in some areas, and I'm sure that probably that part of the problem is we all have to find just one solution for it all. But it's technical. It's technical.
So let me throw another angle on that. I appreciate where Adam's going with that. It's problem solver, like all of us do this. And another approach that I can think of just off the top of my head would be school buys 100 Kindles and puts code sections on it, nothing else, and shuts off the wireless.
Yeah.
A nice pick. And there's nowhere for it to go, or it's password protected. And you just hand it out, and the says we'll bring it back. And that puts your code sections next
I
to
don't have budget for 100 kills at the moment, but that's a good idea. No, I like that idea.
Thank you. Yes.
You restate the first bullet point. Is that mobile devices?
You miswrote it. You miswrote it. You put tables instead of tablets.
Cables. Okay, sorry.
Is it a question students are asking, or is it something that you're doing, offering the exams on tablet?
No, we're not. So we did get the question. Sure. Does it run on a Yeah.
We're pursuing the concept of iPad,
Okay.
having closed exam software.
And what are you looking into?
Running exam software on an iPad.
Okay. I can probably touch base with you afterwards. Sure. Yes, we're getting the question. And iPads and some other tablets as well. So, yeah. Any other ideas? Any other things that we need from exam software products? Okay, think about it. Sure.
You said you have 700 students,
Mm-hmm.
and you have loaner laptops available for them?
Yes.
How many loaner laptops do you have?
We have 8 to 10. Believe it or not, they don't get probably 4 or 5 of them really get used. The circulation desk are the ones that check them out in and out to students. So they are the ones who keep the records, and then we go and take a look how many have been used. So those are for like the extreme emergencies, the hard drive that crashed the day before kind of thing.
Are they all one set platform?
Yes. Yep. Windows, very, very plain vanilla. Mm-hmm.
And the librarians who check them out have to determine who's the emergency and who isn't?
No, we do, because we stop by at the beginning of the exam. So then we tell the student, all right, go take a laptop, and then we'll give you X extra minutes or so.
In Notre Dame, we have right now 5,000.
25, okay.
Throughout the semester. The week of exams, we close them off where
Sure.
anybody that they can only be used for an exam. We have a sign-up sheet that they have to go through.
Oh, okay.
2 weeks before exams, they have to sign up. We are probably going to reduce down to about 15. This last semester, I think the most we ever used was 15.
15. And how many students do you have?
About 560.
Oh, okay. So a little less.
Exams are not in session, the library just uses them as
Yeah.
loaners?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if I'm working on somebody's laptop, you set them down. They're supposed to be a 4-hour checkout, but 4 hours usually turns into like 48 hours.
Yes.
It's pretty quick and easy. It really, it just kind of depends, because we have enough right now that they're a little more lax on that, but some of them are about to come out of warranty. I don't think we're going to replace them all, so they may start sticking with 4 hours or more. If I'm working on it, you put you on there, then overnight's usually not a problem.
Do you reimage when you take that in, or?
No. Security software on them. I use Clean Slate to prevent any changes to the machines. And then for exams, before the
You lift it.
I re-image for the exam period, not after every exam.
Yep, same here. So we use deep freeze, but during the exam period, we just thaw the computers. Yes.
Another line of question. Are you getting inquiries over the iPad or any other platform like possibly Android?
Yes, from any mobile device that you can.
So students are coming up and asking about.
Yes, would it be nice? Can I ever do it here? Kind of thing.
I saw a stat this
Okay.
27%. So there's ownership of other stuff. Obviously, someone's Android dad, but all the traffic's iPad.
No, true. Yes. I mean, I have
I
seen.
don't know what that means, but
Mhm.
not the big one.
Yeah, Android hasn't quite caught up yet. Understand.
Some of that's iTunes, right? Because the iPad's not just. iPad's also a content.
I think they're also counting the iTouch, iPod.
Oh, do they?
A lot of them.
Hmm.
The market share stats.
So it's not just web. So even if you have your Android tab, you go on your iPhone, you can use it.
Yeah. It goes to Apple.
I imagine some of that's psychological. What's happening, I read some of the articles on this, is people buying iPads, they're finding out it doesn't do exactly what they want. They're keeping it anyway. But the Android, they find out it doesn't do exactly what they want, and they return it. There's a lot of psychology involved.
Yeah, interesting.
People keeping iPads more, even though they don't do what the desktop functionality do,
Mm.
but they don't feel the same way about the Android tabs. So those are getting returned in massive numbers. There's not the whole feeling behind the Android tabs. Interesting concept.
Was there another raised question here?
I was curious if there were any concerns about having loaner laptops, because if a student's hard drive goes, say, the day before, that's it, they're out of luck, they're going to write the exam.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to take the risk and responsibility of having one of our machines crash
Mm.
while their exam being responsible. So basically two questions. One is, what are people's thoughts? And two, just, I don't know if you could do like show of hand or get some sort of sense as to how many schools do in fact have loaner laptops, and that would be.
Okay, so the question is how many schools offer loaner laptops for their students? Okay, good majority. And that's the thing, I mean, our loaner laptops, okay, so I'm on this side of the line, are clean. So granted, hardware can go, but luckily we haven't had that much trouble with our own school computers.
But why do you provide them?
Service is first, students are first kind of motto. Yeah.
We have we've decreased our lab space now
Mm-hmm.
by about 40% at this point.
Mm.
And we're trying to discourage our students, because up until last year, we didn't have you have to buy a laptop. Some laws were law. We've been, and we don't want them to use the lab. We don't want them in 50 different places. We want them in the room that we scheduled them.
Right, right.
It has gotten to the point with the improvements in the software that it's less pleasant for them to take it in the lab than it is for them to take it at home.
With everybody else,
I
right.
just spread a few rumors about, when you use the lab, sometimes the antivirus can slow you down a little bit. Exactly. The guy next door, you accidentally unplug the switch in the floor, and it's just better to have your control.
Sure.
But we are certainly responsible for all of this.
Actually, another question is, who has still computer labs in their law schools? Everybody? Well, I should have asked, who doesn't? Who doesn't have computer labs? All right, move away from it.
One of my labs is now ping pong, darts, pool tables, and a really big television. So
It's
we
kind
like
of
that better, actually.
it's kind of an interesting thing. I don't normally. This is the first time I've been to CALI Con. I used to go to Live Man, and Dan Mania, he's always coming back to this, telling me how everybody's reducing their labs. At Lab Man, they talked about a lot of schools have reduced their labs only to find that they had to go back and put them back in. Temple just put in like a 4-story building, nothing but labs. And this year was interesting because we were in our new lab this year, and on the stats, I think there was only 3 1Ls that did not use our lab.
No, okay.
There was like 23 3Ls, maybe 15 2Ls that just didn't use our lab, on any given semester. So there still seems to me that there's still a pretty good demand.
Definitely.
We found the opposite. We reduced our lab, and about half, and still computers are less than half.
I think when we were in our transition period, we only that point, it was so small that everybody did quit using it. It wasn't as used like we have now. Right now, we have an instruction lab and a regular lab. The regular lab has 10 computers, 3 Macs, and the instruction lab has 20 computers.
Oh, okay.
The 10 out in the space where they have these pod systems, just a little more elbow room, is used, even though there's half as many computers, it's used 3 times as much as the other room.
30 to about 12. The only computers that get used in the lab, we have a few computers that have scanners attached to them, and we find that those get used. Students don't have scanners at school with them, and they often want it, especially in the library, they grab them cheap way of doing a photocopy because it's free, where the photocopier is charged. But other than that, really don't see a lot of use of our lab today.
From a horizontal perspective, I can say that I'm surprised to see that many hands go up for both labs and owners. I would have guessed less than 50% or less for owners, and I would have guessed much less for labs. But it could be that schools have labs but they're not using them for exams.
That's true. I mean, our labs we use really for training. I mean, we have Lexis and Weslow who come in and do training for our students. We do training for our staff too when we have to roll out a software package and we have to give them training. So we provide hands-on training as well. So yeah, no, exams are not the exclusive use.
We do have schools that use the labs for exams. It's a steady, small number, and the loaners slightly more.
If it's okay, can I, this lady from the University of Maryland, you said you don't have a lab. And what has been the reaction, or have you been have they been thinking about putting the lab back? Have you got pushback from students?
We have public university,
Mm-hmm.
public school. So there are things like public, so our libraries are public now. In the school side, and the library and school are attached by another building. And on the school side, there are areas near the student mailboxes, and then near the student lockers where there are maybe 4 or 5 PCs and printers. And we've gone to our campus has gone to a one sign-on, so the students have the same user ID and password to log onto these computers, to log onto the email, to log on Blackboard, to register for classes. And then in our library, where we used to have a large lab, we found that most of the public was coming in and using the computers to view sites that weren't appropriate. So we did away with the lab, converted it to offices, and in our library we have a few public computers on each floor. So we have them in, each student has to have a laptop. And we found, and we have areas where they can plug in electric and internet or use wireless, and we don't get any complaints.
Interesting.
It's kind of interesting. Not in our lab, we have actually students bring their laptops in the lab using their laptop and our computers at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
What are people using for exam schedule? The only thing, your brains really? Oh, really? You don't get it?
That's right.